following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. Golenbock University. Peter Golenbock is here, and our ongoing guest, Robert Cole, a St. Petersburg guy himself, joins us again. Gentlemen, how are you?
Just wonderful. How could you not be? You live in a fabulous town like St. Petersburg where it's warm every day. You wake up in the morning, the sun is shining, it's beautiful out, and you get to watch Major League Baseball. How bad could it be?
You live in paradise indeed. We all have our own paradise. I have a little paradise in Alameda, California.
Yeah,
You've
do.
You've been out here, I think, to interview Andy Carey.
Absolutely. Oh, I sure did. Yes. Yes, you just have to make sure that the wildfires don't burn your town down.
We're safe. That was in Oakland,
That's
and
very good.
We seem to be safe for the moment.
And
the Oakland A's haven't put the shovel in the ground. I'll believe it when I see it. They've agreed in principle. They're getting ecological studies, this, that, and the other thing, to a ballpark real close to Jack London Square, where the infrastructure will be affected. They couldn't have come up with anything more difficult in terms of getting the fans in and out. But
do you have mass transportation? Do you have trains?
We do have BART.
How bad could it be? You've got BART. We don't even have BART. We've got Uber.
I know, but to get to the downtown area, you're off BART by then, and there's all kinds of problems that they're going to have to solve.
Rickshaws. I think you should have rickshaws.
That's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea, and ecological as well. But we're here tonight to talk about your stadium situation, and we talked a little off the air. Peter, you don't really know what's going to happen, do you?
No, I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen. I don't think Stu Sternberg, who is the owner of the Rays, knows what's going to happen. I know what he would like to happen. He would like to have the Rays play in St. Petersburg in an open-air stadium in April, May, and June, and then he would like to move the team to Montreal and play in Montreal in July, August, and September. That's what he'd like to do. That's his pie-in-the-sky plan.
Okay, did he announce this in Montreal as well? What do they think about it?
Well, he has been talking with Bronfman, who is the son of the Bronfman who used to own the Expos. And they're talking about, joining forces. So, yes, Montreal knows all about this. They do, and they're thrilled. They think it's absolutely wonderful, because if you're a team that has nothing and has had nothing for quite a long, long time, a half of a something is a lot better than nothing. So they're thrilled.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to ask Robert what you think about it as a fan.
Oh, well, I'm devastated. Okay, don't forget, I lived through Walter O'Malley and the Brooklyn Dodgers. Okay, I was 10 years old when the Brooklyn Dodgers moved out of Brooklyn. So here I am faced again, with the same sort of posturing, the same sort of, out of both sides of the mouth, not knowing what's going on. Now, I've listened to some Montreal shows on the internet. They don't feel that they could support a team for a whole schedule. And the reason why they're happy with this situation is that they're locked into hockey, okay? So March, April, May, even into June, you have the Stanley Cup going on. That's what they're focused on, okay? Once the more warmer months come, you go July, August, September, they'd be thrilled to have a team. But, for the first couple of months, they wouldn't even go to the games probably. And, the question I would have as a fan, if that did happen, okay, who gets playoff games if they go into the playoffs?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, they'll play the playoff games in London.
What an abomination that is.
Oh,
do you think
goodness.
the balls were a little juiced for that tournament?
No, I think the pitchers were exhausted.
Yeah.
No, the pitchers were
from
pooped. From the trip. Yeah. You ever flown to Europe? Spend the first 4 days sort of in a daze? Yeah, it's quite something. It's much easier coming back, but going over there, it's like you walk around like a zombie for 3 days until you get you get accustomed to the new time zone.
And
let me ask you, why weren't the batters exhausted?
Well, why weren't the batters exhausted? I don't know. I think pitching is a more difficult task. I do believe that in the major leagues, if you're a pitcher, you better be 100% on top of things. Or it's like what Ryan Duran said to me one time. He said when he was a great pitcher that 9.5 out of his 10 pitches he put them where he wanted to put them. At the point where they started hitting him, he said 8 of the 10 pitches he put where he wanted to put them, and it was the other 2 pitches that they clobber. So that's how close it is. That's how close it is between being a great pitcher and out of the game.
Pitchers are more accustomed to a regimen and a routine also. And,
without a doubt.
You put them in a different location like that. Hitter is a hitter. Hitter can hit anywhere. But, pitchers are just creatures of habit, and they want the same thing. So, they made
and Tanaka's on my rotisserie team. Tanaka pitched two-thirds of an inning, gave up 8 hits and 7 runs, something like that. Oh, boy, I almost jumped off the Sunshine Skyway Bridge.
I call that being smoltzed, because I had John Smoltz under the same circumstances. I'm driving in the car, a third of an inning, 6 runs, something like that, back in '92, and I got smoltzed that day.
Yeah, you did.
It takes you out of the month. It could ruin your season.
Well, I was so fortunate because the day before I had Fires, who pitched a shutout, and Means, a Baltimore pitcher, he pitched the shutout. So I had a little cushion there from those 2 guys the day before. It didn't totally ruin me.
Right.
I had 17 points. I was in 12th place, solidly last at the end of April, and I now have 49 points. I'm a half a point out of 4th. My team has suddenly come alive. I've picked up people from the junk pile who are just hitting and pitching and doing great, and I have never been happier playing fantasy baseball.
Yeah. Hey, listen to this, Peter. Robert and I are both avid Met fans. Mets are having a horrible year. We both have rotisserie leagues separately, and we both have the only 3 Mets that are performing decently, and more so, they're performing great. McNeil, we have DeGrom, and we have
your guy
Alonso.
Alonso's from here. He's from around here, and everybody's going crazy because he's he's on pace to hit 60 home runs for the season. The guy's absolutely amazing. The problem the Mets have, I think, is that they don't know what they're doing. I mean, they hired a general manager.
There's that little thing.
They hired a general manager who was an agent, and they thought that he would do well because he would get his clients to come and play for the Mets. Except all his clients are 37 years old, and you're playing in a game now where if you're 30, you're old. It's unbelievable now.
I've been bitching about this, Peter, on our Mets show week after week after week. We had the chance, the Mets, of having Keim Bloom being the general manager. Okay.
Well, I mean, how could you not take the third or fourth smartest of all the people? I mean, the guy's an absolute freaking genius. But they decided they went in another direction. Wilpons kid. The problem is you never want to be owned by the son of somebody who founded your team, because that guy is almost always an idiot. It just sort of works out that way. It's just hard. and you've got the son. It's kind of too bad, and he made a terrible choice. If you don't have a good general manager who's running your team for 5, 6, 7 years, you're in transit. You're always, you're getting new general managers, picking new managers, and picking new players, and it's always
they're picking new scouts. They're picking new player development guys.
Yeah, I know. And then when your team ends up in the toilet, Will Pond will fire this guy and fire this manager who clearly is out of his league, Callahan, and get somebody else who's mediocre. It's a shame. I mean, it's half the teams in baseball, so don't just think it's just the Mets.
Yeah, and the problem is Cano is going to be here longer than Van Wegenen.
Well, they ought to make Cano the manager. Make Cano the manager.
Okay. Hey, I'm going to interject something on a podcast I do with Hal Bach and George Case III and David
Butler. How are they? How are the boys?
All three of them are really well and recovering from some minor heart problems, which is minor heart is Alan Blumkin. Minor heart problems is only minor to the guy saying it, not to the guy who's having it.
That's
so he is recovering. We're delighted about that. But I asked them as a panel, and I'm going to ask you two guys this, because we're all old school baseball fans, and we're repulsed by some of the changes, some not so much. What is it that you like the most about today's game, that you really appreciate about today's game? Start with you, Robert.
That it's baseball. I mean, there's so much that I don't like about it, but it is baseball, and I'm a baseball guy, and I'll keep watching baseball. But it's so totally different than when I grew up that it's hard to say that I like anything in particular.
Okay. Well, before Peter goes on, I'm going to give my answer. My answer is the unbelievable defensive prowess of these guys today. Unreal. And when you think about the exit velocity, how hard the balls are being hit, that's my thing. I see plays on a daily basis that were highlights. Once in a blue moon, you'd see plays like that. Now you see them all the time. And that's my thing about what I like about today's game. Peter Golenbock.
As far as I'm concerned, this game of baseball is utterly spectacular. I mean, the talent on every team that I see, including the Tampa Bay Rays, on defense, you see plays that just take your breath away. Kiermaier in center field, he's as good as anybody who's ever played the game. The guy's absolutely fabulous. He runs like the wind. He gets a great first step. He's fearless. He catches the ball up against the wall. The kids playing in the infield at third and short and second. This kid Lowe makes every play look, just fantastic. Guys like Choi. I mean, we don't know who any of these people are. I mean, we know them now, but
we do.
When they came up, we had no idea. And this guy Choi is a ballet dancer. He's a big fat ballet dancer. He's just fantastic. And until Alvarado and our other big reliever, he went down with an injury, and we lost them both because Alvarado was in the Dominican with his mother.
Right.
We had a terrible streak. It was like 3-12, something like that. We're still, I think 10 games above 500, which is amazing despite the streak. But every baseball game I go to, I see something fabulous. It used to be, too, that Nolan Ryan threw 97 miles an hour, and we would awe. The fact of the matter is every pitcher who walks out on that mound from either team throws 97 miles an hour, just about. And you go, how can anybody hit that? And yet today, kid threw Tommy Pham a 96-mile-an-hour fastball that he deposits into the seats.
Yeah,
you just sit there with your mouth open. It's like, oh my goodness, how does somebody do something like that? These people are such phenomenal athletes. They're just great athletes. So that whatever game you go to, you are seeing, people who should be in the Bolshoi Ballet. I mean, they're just magnificent players. And baseball used to be what it was in the 1960s, and then, things, over the years they changed. Bob Gibson had an ERA one year of 1.12, and so they lowered the mound. Then you had a steroid era. The game has changed over the years, and now you've got 95-mile-an-hour pitchers and little baseballs that travel 500 feet. It's just different, but it's still, to my way of thinking, it's magnificent.
Is there still a steroid era, and is it still one chemist trying to get ahead of another chemist with the cover-ups and what have you? Do you believe steroids are still a part of the game, Peter?
Maybe only 95%.
Instead of the 98.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, and we joke about it, but Peter is the one who pointed out to me that, while Barry Bonds was being accused and probably did partake in extracurricular activities, the relief pitchers were all coming in and they were equally as juiced.
And the starters too, not just the relief pitchers. Look, if you have an opportunity to make $1 million or more playing Major League Baseball, and you see that everybody else is taking steroids, the morality of it, tends to go away. It's like it's sort of in a way.
Everybody knows from top to bottom in the organization.
Yeah, well, it's like the college coaches who realize that their opponents are paying the top football players and basketball players to come to their university through the alums, through the alumni, and you say to yourself, "Oh, I would never morally do that," and you end up with a 3-20 season. It's just the way it works.
Did John Wooden not have an alumni association?
Yeah, John Wooden paid Alcindor $100,000 a year. Are you kidding me? Please.
Oh, I didn't know it was that, but I do remember he had a job of turning on the sprinklers in the morning.
Yes,
but it turns out that it was an automatic sprinkler system. So all he had to do was get up, look out the window. If the sprinklers were on, his job was done.
That's about right. No, I spoke, after writing Personal Fouls, which came out, I think, in 1990. I was a pariah there for a while, especially in the town of Raleigh, North Carolina, after Valvano ended up getting fired. But I did a lot of traveling around the country, and I found, a lot of sort of newspaper people sort of whispering in my ear, hey, it's not just North Carolina State, it's wherever you go. I mean, it's just the way it works. Why, as you, this talented ball player, who's going to bring millions of dollars into the coffers of your football academy, why shouldn't Cam Newton get $200,000 to go to Auburn? I mean, that offends some people, but it sort of makes sense to me. I mean, look, right. you're Cam Newton, and you've got a special talent that's going to make your coach at Auburn, he's going to make $6 million a year, and the university is going to make $100 million in ticket sales. Is it so terrible that Cam Newton decides to ask for $200,000? I don't know. Seemed okay to me. Not to some people, but it didn't bother me.
Yeah. All right, guys. Robert, I want you to close it out with some of your thoughts. You don't get very much airtime, it seems. And
I just love listening to Peter. I mean, it took me 6 months to get on his friends list, for goodness sake. So,
You didn't try hard enough.
Well, What do you have to do? It's an open-ended thing.
Well,
hey,
no. Here's what happens. Here's what happens, Ralph. I have 5,000 friends, and you're only allowed 5,000. So if you got 5,000, you can't get new friends. But what happens every time I write about Donald Trump, I lose 2 or 3 friends, and that's the point where you got to jump in real fast and become one of my friends. That's how you got in. Exactly. That's right.
That's very funny when you think about it.
And it was well worth the wait, I want to say, Peter.
Thank you.
All right.
We're going to go watch. You know what we're going to watch tonight? Roger Ailes. Roger Ailes is on TV tonight. Roger Ailes is on TV tonight. The story of Roger Ailes.
Let's look for that. And
Must
what is
see
that
TV.
on CNN?
No, it's on Showtime, I think.
Oh, okay.
Showtime. Yeah. Showtime.
All right.
I'm sorry, but right now I've got to get disappointed once again with the Mets. They're up 3-2, and
Matt Chapman had a home run and 6 RBIs today, so I'm not complaining.
You're a happy guy, Peter.
I am a happy guy.
It's amazing how Fantasy League can change your mood as much as your regular team.
Oh, more so.
Yeah.
More so. Right.
Oh, more so.
Because you're invested.
Starting to learn?
You chose these players.
Well, you have 24 opportunities to be thrilled or to be disappointed. 14 hitters and 10 pitchers. You got 24 guys who can either make your day or break your day.
Absolutely.
And I've got Matt Chapman, the best third baseman in baseball.
With the Mets, Robert and I only have 5 guys who can break our day by the end of the day.
Right.
It's called the bullpen.
That's it. That's it.
Right.
How can you lose 4 games in a row where you're leading in the 9th by 3 runs? How does that happen?
7 games
How can anybody make that happen? That's a fire the manager deal if I've ever seen one.
And
but he's
talking
not
to
even managing
people who hang in and listen. Robert and I and Marty Rose, we hang in and listen to it all. We know it's coming. It's like we were talking off the air before, Robert and I. It's like Groundhog's Day.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Every day is the same. Maybe we'll be surprised tonight, Robert, and you guys both have a healthy week.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Comfortably Zone Network, Golenbock University. Thank you, Robert Cole. Thank you, Peter Golenbock. Adios.